full on, like, get me in bed at 10. I need to recover. I've got tomorrow's training, PT, business, on it. Then 5 o'clock, close down. But Ramadan teaches you things.
You're strict, man. As long as I get 6 hours, I'm all right.
Oof, I can't do it.
I was starting in 10.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You are listening to the Waves of Positivity show, introduced today with our special guest, Bilal Malik PT. Before we get started, today's episode, you can expect us to talk about health, fitness, some misconceptions amongst the POC community, as well as about how you can get started and start making the right changes in your lifestyle so that you can become a healthier person and live a healthier lifestyle. My guest today is actually a personal trainer of mine. He's helped a lot of people, a lot of close friends as well, overcome some really bad personal injuries through bad habits. We're talking about back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, feet pain, whatever pain you can imagine possible, he has helped cure, and he is an absolute superstar. We are listening to the one and only Bilal Malik PT. Please introduce yourself, my brother.
Jazakallah for that introduction, bro. No pressure, no pressure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Guys, my name is Bilal. I'm a personal trainer, coach, have been for the last 5 years. A journey born out of pretty much helping my own self and my own health journey, and helped hundreds of people transform from a health perspective, mobility, strength, and that sort of thing. And I'm really looking forward to sharing some gems today, inshallah.
Do you know what? In this episode, I'm preparing you right now. 99% of the conversation is going to be coming from yourself. So I'm going to get started with my first question. My brother, how did you get started on your health journey? Let the people know.
Okay, that's a great question. So it runs back to kind of in my teenage years, subhanAllah, where honestly at the time I remember so vividly that my health was just not right. You know when you kind of have a gut feeling that, okay, my skin's not, I've got skin conditions, my digestive system wasn't in the best place. And obviously you know this in retrospect. Obviously at the time I just knew something was wrong. And that's kind of what kickstarted it. For me at 18, 19, doing boxing, being super active, because my dad would always promote that, I'd get joint pains, not really sleep well throughout the night, constant visits to the bathroom as it comes with the gut health and stuff like that. And so when you're a teenager, see, I hadn't even been introduced to that yet, subhanAllah. That came afterwards. And then when you approach your early 20s, you're thinking to yourself, surely I should feel better for my age. And being 20 years old, early in my 20s, why do I feel like a 40-year-old man? Joint pains, aches, skin, hair, nails, all that sort of stuff. So it was actually a bit of a worry for me at first. And that's kind of what led me down to this journey of, let me jump into the rabbit hole of health, understand health for myself, nutrition, lifestyle, stress management, exercise, things like that. And that's what got me started essentially on this journey. And here we are as a personal trainer. And that's literally how the journey started.
Alhamdulillah. We're going to dig into that deeper. I just want to remind people, you listen to the Waves of Positivity show on Ramadan FM. I forgot to mention that part, and I don't want Brother Aadil telling me off. So when I was getting into my journey, a lot of my positive things came from my friends, people around me, and getting into the gym, I would learn their best practices or my friends' best practices about how you should deadlift, how you should squat. They'll correct you and you'll kind of fail until you succeed in the gym, right? What are some of the misconceptions being a personal trainer have you seen people learn from friends and family over the years?
I guess there's a lot of misinformation out there. I think the biggest one is just because it works for me, that means it should work for you. And as a personal trainer, having worked with hundreds of people over the last 5 years, you understand that everybody is unique. And I mean that fingerprint sense. Everybody's unique. No person is the same. And from my coaching experience, you can see that when you implement things in the gym, it works for one person. They might feel it the same way, or they might feel it with a couple of other people in comparison. And there are some people who won't. So when it comes to you and your own health, there's a lot of individualism and a unique approach that you need to take. What works for you, Aadil, doesn't necessarily work for me. You 100%. Just told me before this podcast, 6 hours is good for you. I could tell you before having a child, that just doesn't work for me. I need a good solid 7-8 hours to function. I'm a little more sensitive on that end. I think one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to learning from your friends and family is, oh, dude, I started this paleo diet. Or, dude, I started the carnivore diet. And then you jump onto these fads that your friends kind of promote. but with no backing, no foundation, no understanding,
Yeah.
no knowledge. And of course, the final thing being, how do you adapt to yourself? How do you adapt that entire concept or principle to you and your own lifestyle? I think that's one of the biggest things I've probably come across when it comes to coaching clients in that sense.
See, one of the misconceptions I've heard in the industry is people always say, all you need is 3 30-minute workouts a week and you can lose weight. And what people do is they'll do the 3 30-minute workouts for the week, but they won't change their diet.
Yeah.
Or they won't go and change, like, cutting out sugars and, hey, no takeaways. Like, just the 3 30 minutes a week is enough for me to see a change. And I'm thinking, at the beginning, sure, but it's going to very, very quickly stop, right? So that's one of the misconceptions. What's the funniest ones you've heard as a PT? Go on.
Funniest ones.
Like one that you just heard someone say, "Oh yeah, I did this and I didn't see no results," and you're kind of like, "Yeah, I
okay." So the biggest one, and this might not be funny at first, but I'll have to explain it. Is telling me that, Bilal, I'm not really eating anything throughout the day and I'm not losing weight. That's the biggest one.
Yes.
And then they proceed to tell me that their body's going into this starvation mode, which practically doesn't exist. And the explanation being that if you aren't eating food, you should obviously lose some weight. But the truth is you're not. You're obviously snacking, you're having highly palatable food, super high calories, that sort of stuff. And of course you enter into, you're just giving your body a bit more energy than it needs. And so you're putting on weight. That's one of the ones that I come up against a lot. I think guys telling me that, Bilal, when they come to me and say, Bilal, I want to get a bit more muscular, but I want to get too big, I don't want to get too big. And I think I've been training for a while, and I can promise you just don't get too big overnight. So when I said there's many. And I kind of come to your point about the 3 workouts, 30 minutes, for you then to, let's say you were to ask me, Bilal, would this be the scenario for most people? You can't say. And this is what I've learned from coaching people. It's very individual. Everybody's journey is so individual. Yeah. There might be someone who works with the 3 30-minute workouts, who does home workouts, and it's fantastic for them. And there might not be a bottleneck for that person. But then the next person, who's much more fitter, probably has a background, has just fallen off a little bit, maybe they need a little bit more. But it's, again, very individual.
I've just, through my own journey, so obviously when I got married and I had some lifestyle changes, my gym workouts just became... things that used to be easy became so hard. I go in the gym, I'm like, not even just the strength side. The strength side didn't decrease too much. I was able to quite quickly get my strength back up. But the level of effort just changed
Shows you got a
so
good marriage.
much, man.
Congratulations. If you gain weight and your gym sessions become a lot harder, then congratulations.
Yeah, man, it does. It's very, 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 very difficult in that sense. So one of the misconceptions I've kind of seen myself, and I actually did myself, and I was like, why is this not working? Is that the way I was managing my food, for example, like you mentioned, some of your clients saying, I'm not eating very much, but they don't feel like they're losing weight. I use MyFitnessPal as one of the apps, and there's so many new ones now. There's AI ones, and they can take a picture of your food and it tells you
track your calories,
what your macros are. So I used to think like a bit of ketchup was all right. And I realized I was having 150 calories worth of ketchup in a meal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, for example, I have my protein yogurt and my dates, but I have 3 dates, protein yogurt, some cashew nuts. But my portion of cashew nuts probably wasn't.
Yeah.
And on MyFitnessPal, I'm putting 210 calories. It's probably about 400 calories worth of cashew nuts there. For those little things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that awareness. When I work with my clients, we do what we call an awareness week. And the awareness week is essentially, let me just look at what your food options are currently before we start to make changes and before it starts to become, overwhelming, because we don't want it to be. And of course, habit change long term is the ultimate goal. And this is where people start to become really conscious about what they're putting on their plates. And the feedback I get 9 times out of 10 and almost 10 times out of 10 is, but I didn't realize how much I was putting on my plate. But I don't realize how much I was snacking in moments throughout the day. I'm working from home, the kitchen's just there. I know I can just walk down the stairs from my office and go enjoy some snacks.
Oh, yes.
SubhanAllah. But you don't count those until you start to become a little bit more conscious.
Yeah.
And I think what people need to understand is whenever it comes to weight loss, improving your health, being a little bit more conscious of your food choices goes a very, very long way. 100%. I'm not a coach that says, we need to eat broccoli and rice or anything like that. In actual fact, if you just make small adjustments to your day-to-day, reduce the snacking, or we choose better snacks, your food, start to understand what portions should be, adjust in terms of how much protein you're having in those meals. And kind of like you said, if I were to grab a handful of nuts and just ate intuitively, I'm easily consuming 200, 300 calories. But the misconception around nuts is, oh, it's a protein food, right?
Yeah.
But we both know that, and then the audience should now know, is it's super high in calories because of the fat content.
100%.
So it's a food that you can just indulge in, especially salty nuts and things like that.
Oh,
So I'm like,
cashew nuts, man.
yeah, they're dangerous.
Roasted cashew nuts are the worst, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those,
Put a packet.
those are just calories in a packet, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Calories in a packet.
Mm.
All right, so no, we've touched on some misconceptions, and I'm sure a lot of the people listening can definitely attest to some of these themselves, and they've probably been through it themselves. But how can we start to change our mindset around these sort of things that we've got? Like, how are you helping your clients as well change their mindset around these things?
It starts with education, especially in our community, Southeast Asian. It starts with education. You know, when you want to change somebody's belief system, you can't do that by just telling them you need to do better. That's and that's probably one of the biggest pet peeves of mine, is someone, a coach telling somebody, you just got to do better. But what does that mean? Now, we've just talked about nuts, for example. If I told someone who didn't understand this concept, and I told and explained that the entire, it's a lot of calories, and that might be why you're not losing the weight, etc., and all that sort of stuff, then that person now has the knowledge. He's equipped with the knowledge and the information. Now, when he starts to make decisions, or he or she starts to make decisions, it's based off of information grounded in actual science, and then that will give them results. And that's how you change somebody's belief system, is through education, proper education. And I think in our communities as well, around health, improving your health, losing body fat, there is this almost, your health is what it is. We don't really have control over it. If I have arthritic knees, it's okay. If I like my food, I'm just going to eat it. Oh, it's fried food, so what? It's okay. We brush a lot of things to the side. And I think that's what puts us in a position where, from a lifestyle perspective, the disproportionate disease that affects our communities is crazy, from diabetes to blood pressure to things like that. And it comes from the lack of education, and therefore our belief systems remain as they are, cultural. We can eat as we want, we can do as we want, until something slaps us in the face and we're like, oh God, I need to intervene. And I think that for my clients, what I always do and I focus on is educating them first, giving them the information, and then helping them make those educated decisions based off of that information. That's massive.
Say someone's not a client of yours, and they're getting into the whole, I need to start making better choices in my life.
Yeah.
The journey we've all been on.
Yeah.
You kind of have that defining moment.
Yeah.
Or I don't like the way I look in this suit. Or, in this picture, I look like the worst person in this picture. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Everyone has that moment, right?
Absolutely.
And this is going to flip your mindset. You go online, and then you start seeing all these different influencers, all these people saying, do this, do that. And before you know it, everyone's becoming a CrossFitter, bodybuilder, powerlifter, gymnast, mobility guru. Everything under the sun they need to start doing. Hey, bulletproof your knees. Knees over toes, guys. Great, by the way. But where am I starting here? Because I want to go in the gym and I'll start squatting.
That's a lot.
It's balancing all of this. What do I do?
Yeah. I actually share
information overload.
It's information overload. Yeah, absolutely. In a time like this where we are exposed to so much information, the question that you need to ask yourself is, how does this apply to me? If you're not my client, no, absolutely fine. I'm going to give you the tips now. But if I was to watch all of these videos, I'm a new dad, for example, and somebody's telling me on a podcast that I need 8 hours of sleep, I'm going to look at that and go, probably not practical for my lifestyle. What other practical changes in my current life can I start to make? And when I say practical, they neither should be overwhelming or should it feel like it's resistance, meaning like you're relying only on willpower in order to make that change happen. And I'll give you the example, again, from people that I've worked with, is they try to change too much too soon. Example, they go on social media. You need to wake up in the morning at 5 a.m. and, go into the sunlight because of your circadian rhythm. And then you need to cut out all sugars and processed sugars and stuff like that. But they've not walked for the last year. They barely get 2,000 steps a day. You need to get 8 hours of deep quality sleep and quit your phone and all this sort of stuff. And all of these habits that are honestly, for most people, far-fetched. It doesn't apply to them in that situation, in that scenario. So if you're looking to make changes and you are looking at that picture and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I don't look good in that picture. How have I even gotten here? Or you're tying your laces and you're grimacing because of lower back pain. It's a scenario we've all been in. You go play football with your friends and the next day your body is in bits and you're like, I shouldn't feel like this in my 20s, 30s and so on. Or I shouldn't feel like this at all. It's to start with the most practical steps. And what would that be? Number one would probably be nutrition. right? Not everybody goes to the gym. If I was to ask the audience now, put your hands up kind of metaphorically, if you were to go to the gym, not everybody will put their hands up. But did you eat today? Everybody's putting their hands up. So the changes that we can make at first now start with the smallest thing, nutrition. It could be with adding a bit of protein into your meals. Eat the same meals, but adding things as opposed to taking things away.
Yeah.
Because we just don't operate well when we're saying, stop. Becomes overwhelming, and we are much more likely to fall flat on our faces. And I think that's where people, especially on social media, fall short. They end up frustrated. They're just spinning their wheels in the exact same place as they are when they started. And with all that vigor and motivation, you go onto social media, I'm going to make a change, and you come off and you're like, all right, I don't know where to start. That's the worst feeling. But start with the smallest thing first. Even if it is, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk every single day. I'm going to add a bit of protein in my meals. You know what? I've not had fruit for the last 6 months or vegetables. I might add one portion to one of my meals. Mm-hmm. And you'll and my coaches always tell me this. Small things don't add up when it comes to your health. They multiply over time. Mm-hmm. They don't just add up, but they multiply. And subhanAllah, that's where I would tell the audience essentially, start small, start practical, shouldn't feel overwhelming, and it shouldn't be something that you're like, you know what, only willpower, I need to run through a brick wall in order to get there. Shouldn't start like that.
Yeah. See, one of the things I found quite entertaining when I started my journey was giving myself a big target to work towards. So you know how annually, as Waves of Positivity, we love to have like a big event. So we've done cycle from Leicester to Amsterdam, inspired by Rada to Sharm. We've done a marathon. Yeah. So I'm actually running a marathon in April. I'm doing the London Marathon. Before that, we did fasted challenges. We did skydiving. Little things that are just scary to do, but you've got to work towards.
Absolutely. So
for me, when I started gym, it was, I'm going to go and do something in the future. So like I started with just cardio. I was like, I'm going to become so good with my cardio. When I go football, I want to smash this. I want to be the fastest, quickest, strongest guy here. So we started the bodybuilding, we started the training, the athletic training. Yeah. It's like giving yourself little small goals to work towards, and then you go and you find out how you're going to get better towards this goal, right? Absolutely. So your clients come to you and they said, I've got this goal to work towards. Yeah. How are we going about planning towards that goal?
Yeah, fantastic.
What are you doing?
So we reverse engineer. Yeah, kind of like you just said. Somebody actually came to me yesterday. Bilal, I want to lose 10 kilos. Right. In the past, I've tried my best, but I've failed and it's been horrendous. I've fallen flat on my face. How do I do it? My answer, focus on the first kilo. All right? Bite-sized pieces. We give yourself a timeline. We see what's practical. What holidays do you have planned? And I get very, very granular with my clients. Like, let's talk practically here. You've got holidays, you've got family events. What do we need to take into consideration? And then we're reverse engineering the goal. If you wanted to lose 10 kilos, we're losing half a kilo a week, let's say. Practical time, let's say 20 to 25 weeks, taking into account holidays. Then we reverse engineer it from a lifestyle and a habitual standpoint. All right, now break down what your lifestyle looks like to me. Bilal, I don't exercise. I go for bike rides eventually. And this is me just pulling out an example of a random person. We look at what your eating times are. What time do you wake up? Your kids, you're balancing kids in a family, serving your parents on the weekends. And then we see what's practical. Back to the point of, right, these are the actions that we need to do in order to get the first goal, which is the first kilo, bite size. It's not overwhelming. It shouldn't feel like a burden. It should feel like something that's very achievable. And then week to week, we build on that. So, for example, if on the first week I say, I want you to aim for 6,000 steps because your average before this was 2,000. And then we gradually find ways and systematically start to include that in their routine. One thing that I find fascinating about people is they look at all these hacks online. We save all of these videos, but you need to buy into those hacks. But those hacks still require work. So these aren't magical numbers or magical kind of interventions. These are things that you need to then commit to. Yeah. So what can you commit to is probably the best question. And we do that, and then we build from there. So the foundation of walking. And I focus on a lot of stress management, nutrition, exercise, and that sort of stuff. Those are kind of like the pillars that I work on when it comes to improving overall my clients. And within stress management, you have things like your sleep, and so on and so forth. Exercise, family things, managing social events. Week 1, we might go for 5,000 steps. Week 2, week 3, build up to 6, 7. All right, now let's start getting our gym workouts in. Could we start off with one gym workout? Probably. What are your limitations in time? Looking at your diary. And then this is where I ask my clients to start scheduling things in. And so you'll see that from the way I'm talking, Everything is based upon something that's practical, something that they can definitely commit to, and nothing that feels so far out of their reach. And what you'll have, and it's the most remarkable thing, Aadil, is this starts to compound really, really quickly. By week 7, I've got an individual in front of me who's doing 10,000 steps a day, going to the gym 3 to 4 times a week. The habits around food have changed. They're sending me messages around social events saying, look, all this food, but I've planned ahead of time. And there's confidence there because they've built it the right way.
Yeah.
And I guess an additional point to make on this is trying to do things fast, crash dieting, and maybe we'll talk about that in a second, because a massive misconception in our Asian communities is just eat nothing, lose 6 kilos and rebound. Is when you do it gradually like this, you actually build the foundational habits. These are things that stick with you for life. And I always say that to my clients. This is health for life. This is not just health for 2 weeks. You're with me for 2 years. Most of my clients are. It's not just that. It's far beyond our tenure together. You want to be able to be in control. Oh, these are principles around sleep that I can implement. Around food, I'm going to prioritize my protein. These are little habits that you'll build, but you'll solidify. Imagine having that confidence every day you wake up and you're like, I know I'm going to organize my day around a busy work from home schedule, back-to-back meetings. And at the end of it, having enough motivation and energy to go to the gym based off of the habits that you've built over a slow and long period. Nothing good comes quick, especially when it comes to health. So building that slowly. And that's how we do it. And the results come. People, they will always tell me, oh, Bilal, I feel fantastic. But it never happened overnight. And neither did it happen without any hurdles. You will absolutely experience hurdles. If you have a big enough goal that's meaningful for your health, hurdles will come. It's actually a necessary part of your journey. So you understand both the sweet and the good side, right?
Yeah.
It's just necessary.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to make some positive changes towards my diet leading up to this marathon. And Ramadan's been... it's been tested. It's only been 5 days, 6 days, and it's really testing me. I'm like...
6 days, yeah.
So we're doing no takeaway in our household in Ramadan. Going to try my very best with all the Ways of Positivity events we have coming up. We've got Fasted Football Tournament, Park Walk, and all these things. It's going to test me because
it's going to be
maybe we're going to have to go out and eat. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's testing me in that sense. Cutting down sugars. So I don't... I'm not
sugar challenge.
I'm not doing... You see, I'm not doing that. That's too much.
You wimped out.
I love my
You instantly wimped out.
I love my kajur. I love my dark chocolate. There's processed sugars in that, man. I'm not sacrificing them. They're healthy enough for me. Actually, talking about that, not plugging, but Aldi do this dark hazelnut chocolate. Honestly, it's changed my life.
In those square long packets.
Yeah, it's changed my life, man. It's changed my life.
Yeah.
It's not 90% dark chocolate, but it's dark enough chocolate for me, man.
It's far too bitter for me, man.
Yeah.
Far too bitter. I know about all the health benefits, but I'm sorry,
man.
my taste buds say no to that.
See, I eat chocolate for the dopamine here. I don't eat anything else.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you want to talk about the misconceptions about crash dieting. I'd like to know about that because a close friend of mine, who's now a client of yours, did the carnivore diet, and he says it did wonders for him. I actually saw he lost weight. But he couldn't keep it going because of it's very difficult to stick to.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
But I'm sure you've had more clients that do that.
Yeah. I think people want results fast. We live in a microwave society. 2 minutes, give me the end result. Amazon Prime comes to my front door. And unfortunately, we've started to, with that vantage point, we're starting to shift that and go, right, my health is in the same vein. I can treat my health in the same vein. And that is, I can lose weight quickly with no repercussions. I want the results fast and I want it now. But like I said before, anything good worth having, it takes time. But I guess the misconceptions is, and I'll start it like this, which is pendulum swings both ways.
Yeah.
If I go extreme one way, eventually you will swing back right the other way in an extreme sense. So if you're crash dieting, number one, it's not sustainable. You know that because of the term, it literally says crash dieting. How often can you crash into something and be like, oh, yeah, I'm absolutely fine? You can't. So if you are crash dieting, you are literally emptying the tank. You're throwing yourself from a health perspective, I think, in a ditch. And then digging yourself out honestly becomes very, very hard. And it's not sustainable. So if I told someone who's working, who's got kids, who's stressed, business probably, managing all of these different facets of life, and I say to them, right, I'm going to put you on 1,000, 1,100 calories a day, they might feel better the first week. They'll go on for 5-6 weeks. And like you said, you mentioned your friend of the carnivore diet, the paleo diet, the keto, and all of this nonsense and stuff like that out there. Works for some, and we'll talk about that in a second. Is it's not sustainable. That's the key thing.
I never understand I understand the reasoning behind people doing this. They're thinking, my life has been so bad, I need to do something so rash in order to change it.
Rapidly.
Because, and not even just the rapidly, it's my life's been extreme in one sense in terms of overeating, no exercise, and I need to go on the other side and become. Do you know what I mean? It's just like the personality sort of thing, right?
And so we shouldn't trivialize this in saying that, you know, there aren't deeper reasons as to why people do this.
Course.
You have to look into the psychology of people. But again, what you just said is literally summarizing the pendulum swings both ways.
Yeah.
That person's gone one way for a very long time, feels the need in order to balance the scale, so to speak, from a psychological standpoint, an internal standpoint, whatever it might be, even from a moral standpoint. Even from a moral standpoint, I'll eat this burger and then I'll go on the treadmill and run. Again, two polar opposites.
I have done that, bro.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's slightly disordered.
No.
Shouldn't be doing it.
So, like, for example, right, this is talking about, like, I've been training for over 10 years, alhamdulillah. I like to say when it comes to the gym, comes to lifting, I have a good knowledge base into, like, I've been a personal trainer. I know how to lose weight and I know how to do certain things.
Sure.
But in terms of, obviously, everyone has those moments where you're kind of going for a little dark path. And so for me, it was, I wanted to enjoy my takeaways. I wanted to enjoy my time out with friends.
Yeah.
And then to make up for it, I'd go to pure gym late at night and I'd go and do a workout. Like, so I've just been, or like, for example, you go out for a meal, you've just eaten 1,500 calories in one sitting, and you're kind of like, today wasn't the day for this, so I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to burn these calories off. So it wasn't necessarily going onto the treadmill to burn it, but it was, I need to go. Because I've done that, I need to go and make up for it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like at a stage in my life where I was kind of, you know what's right and wrong, but you still feel like I have to make up for it. Yeah. So I understand people's reasoning. But I come into a time where I've been through all the different experiences and I understand why people do things. I still need to understand, why do people need to so drastically change their diet for something just because someone has told them that this works for them? Like, it's understanding that reasoning and say, why do you want to not just do a simple balanced diet when you know eating healthier foods is going to help me lose weight? Why do you now need to go and do X, Y, and Z just because it's worked for someone else? Like, it's that sort of sense.
But you tell me, if we're watching news, if we're going on Instagram, what catches your attention? The podcasts with the flashy lights, the headlines that are controversial, things like that. So in human nature, we are drawn to extreme statements, absolutes. Eddie Abu for a fantastic example. You can't eat this because it's beef, it's terrible, it's horrendous. And people gravitate towards that. It's an ultimate statement, absolute statement. It's controversial, gets people's attention.
It's also because he's not wrong in an aspect. Do you know what I mean?
There's some truth, yes. Absolutely. But it's plastered around this kind of marketing scheme, or whatever he's trying to do with this book. And I really believe some of that is his actual personality, but he's clocked Instagram. He understands how do I get the views, how do I get the shares. But the same applies to things like diets and things like that. We want to believe we are special snowflakes, and therefore we need a special type of regime or diet. And if I told you, dude, a balanced diet is all you need, how amazing, how, oh God, that sounds ridiculous, that sounds like me, I want that. Nobody wants that, because it doesn't sound so amazing. It doesn't sound so like, oh, it's marketable, or it's something that's cool to have.
Trendy.
Yeah, it's not, right? So if it's not that, then I feel like most people are like, no, but Bilal, for example, bodybuilding, people do at gyms. People do a lot of bodybuilding. If you look at bodybuilders in terms of their mobility, movement capability, when you go into the gym and train like a bodybuilder, the reason you do it is because of the outcome. Because you're looking at a guy on Instagram, a guy on YouTube, you look at him, he looks fantastic. But because he trains this way, it must mean he knows absolutely everything about training, so I must do it. Yeah. It's so attractive. Do you know what I mean? It's in that sense. And then again, it's like, I get the aspiration of this can make me get somewhere where I've always wanted to. And then it plays on emotion. It plays on emotion. When you say about that person looks in that picture. And on the other end, you have someone marketing keto and telling you that picture is once upon a time in history, I can help you, yada, yada, yada. All of your emotion goes into that now. And again, this is why we shouldn't trivialize people's decisions, because it's stuff with emotion, the psychology, past traumas, that sort of stuff. So when you make that decision to go keto, then after 6 weeks, you're like, oh my God, I can't keep this up. I lost weight, but I can't keep this up. Maybe then that person is the person that the light bulb moment starts to go off in his head, and you tell him, well, come over here where you can have carbohydrates and it's actually not too bad. What, sustainable? What, not extreme? That's ridiculous. Kind of goes against the norm of what we'd like to, what we see all the freaking time. And this is why when I post on Instagram, it's not for views or anything like that. It's let me strike, we're Muslims, we strike right in the middle, balance with everything. Not the extreme this way, not the extreme that way, right in the middle. The same would go for your food, your exercise and stuff like that. Taking an extreme approach that's not sustainable, and the words tell you extreme, not sustainable, it's not going to last very long. The reason why people do it, it's multifactorial. I can't even go into all the reasons, but it definitely looks attractive. It definitely tells them, oh, maybe you can achieve this. But again, it's attractive. If attractive is controversial.
100%. So what are some things that have worked, like for me, some absolutes that I believe have always worked, and mainly because they work for me. Sure. It's resistance training, yes, absolute. It's proven, it adds yes to your life, it makes you healthier, saves you from being susceptible to injuries, and just overall amazing. Fasting, intermittent fasting as well. So for me, for example, just doing your normal Islamic fasts, absolute, it works. Drops your blood sugar levels. In my opinion, it kind of clears the insulin. Like insulin resistance drops so much lower than what it was if you're just eating normally, in a sense. Absolute walking, being active, another absolute, in my opinion, running is an absolute. I'd ask anyone to add into their weekly schedule. 2-3 runs a week. Do it, 5Ks. Just do it. The cardiovascular system will thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to push back here. So in the sense that absolutes are something we should stay away from. Like intermittent fasting, for example.
You're the trainer, you're the coach.
So let me just educate y'all. So absolutes we want to stay for it because the 5K for everybody might not be right. Intermittent fasting, it's just a system of fasting, but as you mentioned, insulin resistance, it might not be correct in the science, but I'm not gonna go into the details. These are all systems. What we have to understand about all of these terms and things like that, these are all systems. Principles are many. Principles are few. Concepts are many. Yeah. If I want to lose weight, I need to be in a calorie deficit. That's the principle.
Yes. That's absolute then.
But okay, sure. Science can change eventually, but it's a principle. It's a principle of whatever. But the system and how we get there, the concepts and how we get there, keto, intermittent fasting, those are just ways in which we reflect the main principle, which is calorie deficit. And going back to your first point, which is the positive stuff that we're going to talk about, which is resistance training, fantastic. And again, in our communities, it's kind of like, athletes should do it. It's only for young people. But I honestly believe if you have the ability, the physical ability, and that's a disclaimer here, you should be in a gym or at least doing some sort of physical resistance, physical exercise, because it will dramatically improve the quality of life. And I mean that in all facets. For individuals our age, 20s, 30s and above, you're thinking about your energy levels. You have to understand that after 30, bone density and muscle mass, we start to lose that every single day for force, but not resistance training. Resistance training prevents that. But what does that actually mean? The things like balance, coordination, our ability to play sports, our quality of life with our kids. I just had a newborn. I'm already thinking about, I want to be healthy enough to play around when he's picking up football in the park. And resistance training can present as a solution to many of your problems. If you look at our communities, and we'll talk, like you said, people of colour and kind of the disproportionate how it affects them, and arthritis and osteoporosis and things like that. There's research to show that physical exercise, resistance training can help reduce the onset of osteoporosis or the chances of you developing something like that. But that's the difference between a quality life of playing with kids and chilling and having a good time with the boys in the football pitch, things like that, and being in debilitating pain and not being able to do anything. So exercise, resistance training, on average, the science said 150 minutes on average a week. If you can get that amount of exercise a week, fantastic. That has shown to improve reduce the risk of diabetes, heart disease, coronary disease, blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, all that sort of stuff. And that's just from 150 minutes. It's 30 minutes across 5 days in a week. You can do that as a walk uphill. You can do that as going up and down the stairs in your own house. You can do that in many ways, many ways. But exercise and then physical exercise.
You got to do an SBD. Squat, bench, deadlift.
Not for everyone. You got to be on the edge here, bro. Yeah, exercise definitely fundamental. And there are other fundamentals like sleep, good quality sleep, stress management, quality food and nutrition, and being able to go outside in the greenery. Obviously, the weather in the UK isn't the best. Even then, as the days get brighter, we should be outdoors because it's just human nature, and that's what we've been designed to do.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to talk about how our demographic, so we know our demographic is mainly going to be people of colour, but for everyone that's going to be going through the works in Ramadan, and they think, you know what, this is the month that I want to make spiritual changes, but also health changes. Yeah. I think like a lot of people, this is like our new year, new me sort of thing, for a lot of Muslims. Absolutely. How are we going to implement changes in Ramadan?
So I guess Ramadan presents a very beautiful opportunity to start to alter your habits, mainly because we are forced into this 14 hours of fast, and eating window is 2 meals, and that's essentially it. The habits that we can start to take from Ramadan, number one will be around food, because that will be the biggest change. And we understand that in Ramadan, there are certain things that happen, and the biggest one being, I can't wait to open my fast and absolutely everything. And we get there, you realize you can't. And that's because we're trying to, obviously, we're fasting for a while, the stomach starts to shrink, all of those benefits, sure. But when you realize overindulgence actually doesn't feel good. Yeah. And that's probably one of the biggest takeaways for people of colour in our communities. When it comes to food, especially food, it's something that we almost take ourselves out of the equation, and we look for satisfaction in food. In Ramadan teaches, sometimes food isn't only for satisfaction. It can be for fuel, and it serves many purposes. So if you're someone who's eating unhealthy in Ramadan, likely your Dhabi is abysmal, you're struggling with your connection, you're kind of yawning and whatever else. If you're lethargic, and if you are a Berber in Dhabi, you know who you are. SubhanAllah. I just call that.
Oh, damn. We haven't said most of the that's fine, man.
I definitely enjoy it, but SubhanAllah, it affects your spirituality and connection. Yeah. So overindulgence is essentially you follow your desires to max. Okay, cool. In Ramadan, you're taught not to do the opposite. Why don't you hold your desire within a certain, confines, let's say, and practice just being comfortable, right? Yeah. Right? So you're not overeating, you're not trying to overdrink, and you've got enough room, third full of water, food, and air, so on and so forth. And you're practicing sometimes without even realizing. So you can think outside of Ramadan is when you're looking at meals, sometimes don't think about it in only the sense of pure satisfaction, because that's where we overindulge, so we overeat. That's where things like weight gain, fat gain, all that sort of stuff, and other things that affect our health, like blood pressure and so on, especially in our communities, come from. Then think about your spirituality, connection-wise. Is your salah better when you're fasted, or is it better when you are full of food, tired in a carb coma? Truth is, it's always going to be better when you're fasted. You're aware, you're awake, but there's a purpose about your salah. There's a lot more khushu, there's a lot more concentration. And again, something else you can take outside of Ramadan is when you overeat, it affects your spirituality. Yeah. Quite literally. Because from one end, you're going, satisfy desires to the max and possibly over there. And on the other end, it affects your salah, it affects your ability to get up. When you have a massive meal on Eid, you can go be able to relate. You have that food coma. Your motivation to go to the gym, obviously non-existent. Your motivation to get up and go for obviously non-existent. But you then put that together and do that over a long period of time, but that's when health complications start to show up. That's Ramadan. And honestly, food is probably the biggest thing. Sleep actually is hampered in Ramadan, hydration is hampered in Ramadan, that sort of stuff. So food is probably the biggest takeaway outside of it. You don't need as much as you think. Yeah. You really don't need as much as you think in order to do it.
Tell us me at 4 p.m. after a long day of work, and I'm like, I could just do a pack of Christmas chocolate bar.
Let's touch on that, because I want to talk about this actually when it comes to our communities and understanding stress management and things like that. I tell my clients this all the time, when it comes to health, there are a few pillars of health. Sleep being one of the most important. Now, after a long day of work, for example, let's say you've only slept 5-6 hours. You're saying 6 hours is adequate for you, right?
I get between 6 to 8 hours. Okay, it all depends on training, what I'm running. Okay.
So for most people, they're probably not getting good quality sleep. They might be getting 5-6 hours at best, and your parents and so on. So if you're someone who now lacks sleep, what if I told you quite literally that this disrupts hormones in the body, literally related to your appetite? So for example, you come home after a long day, let's say you sleep, you slept a bit late, you're on your phone scrolling, doing the things that most of us, we can all confess that we do. You have a couple of appetite hormones in the stomach that are produced by the stomach. One signal to the brain I'm full, one signal to the brain that I'm hungry. The one that signals to the brain that I'm full down regulates. So you are never going to feel full. What does that mean for your appetite? You're going to eat more, right? the one that signals to your brain, I'm hungry, upregulates.
Yeah.
So you're telling your brain, all right, I'm hungry now. So you've had a stressful day at work.
So like ghrelin.
It's really limited. Yeah, too much. I don't want to complicate it too much.
Educate people. man.
Educate people. So yeah, that's it. Those 2 hormones. One for satiety, one for hunger. Imagine the way in opposite direction. Of course, you have sex with in a place where you're thinking, I could ravage my kitchen, come home from a stressful day. The secondary thing, I was looking for satisfaction. Let me have a loophole of happiness here. I'm looking for the dopamine. You are going to look for highly palatable foods. You're low energy. Your stress levels are high. You've not slept well. Now hormone production in your body has kind of changed. You're quite literally fighting this cascade of events. Willpower won't do you any good in that state. I always get my guys telling me, dude, I feel like my willpower is in there. I tell them, look at your lifestyle. There's clues there. You've not slept well. You're stressed out. Your business, you're pushing the envelope there. And I've experienced this myself. When I'm really pushing myself in business, I'm sleeping well. I can kill a packet of cooking and I won't even think about it. But there's a reason for that. Your literal physical biology is telling you, go eat more food, eat more energy. And chances in this day and age that we go for highly palatable, high calorie, sugar, fat, salt,
It's
foods.
not accessible.
We're going to go for it. It's colorful, it's more attractive. You put this all together and we get a lovely recipe of people overeating, gaining weight, not feeling good about themselves, and so on and so forth. And then we have the fact that it affects your mood and cognitive function. Your decision making is going to be, what does decision making essentially mean? You go into that kitchen, you have the food ready in the fridge.
The great food. You know what the great food is?
What?
Great food.
No.
So the most palatable food for Western countries are foods that are grey and beige.
Wow.
We're talking fries, pasta, cookies, pancakes.
Yeah.
You know, it's all that same colour.
Yeah.
All that grey and beige tone.
Yeah.
Those are the foods that are most known for causing obesity and insulin resistance.
Makes
It's the most palatable, man, 'cause I love all the foods. But sorry, I'm conscious of time. I really want to do my favourite segment. I'm not saying everything, like, we can carry on talking. I've got time. But Bismillah, I want to do a favourite segment. So I'm going to ask you a couple questions. I changed it to what we initially discussed at the beginning. I'm going to do a quiz. I'm not quizzing you because I'm interested to know you better. I'm going to take me the top 3.
Here we go.
Top 3 is we're going to do food, we're going to do exercise, and we're going to do social.
Okay.
So what are your top 3 favourite foods? Foods. Bearing in mind, we're talking about health and wellness.
You want me to keep
I want to keep it healthy, man. I don't want to expose you on your... We should do both. Do both.
Yeah, can we teach balance out?
Yes, go on.
Teach
We get excited about food. I love my food.
Top 3 dishes. Shall we go something sweet, savoury, and then oh man,
No, just top 3.
Top 3.
You can do it. If you're 3 favourites, just savoury, man. You have to see here. Come on.
Give me a good butt chicken.
Yeah,
my favourite.
Is that first or third?
It's probably 2.
2, okay.
The one is makluba.
Makluba?
Yeah, homemade.
Okay.
I eat my wife makes it, so she's
Subhanallah.
and then the third one, it's probably something sweet, man. Just put Nutella on anything, and I'll take it. I'm good.
I love the chewy. All right, so that's your top 3 foods, right?
Yes.
So Bilal's top 3 favourite foods. If you guys, it's like, and you're listening, and it's Eid coming up, and you've understood that he's been doing no sugar diet, yes, and Nutella.
Yeah,
So thank you.
yes, sir.
All right, top 3 exercises. Exercises you do. Anyone else, disclaimer, Bilal does the most exercises, subhanAllah, man. Like, being his client, I learned different exercises I've never done before in my life. So this is hard for you, I want to know your top 3.
Okay, top 3. Any chest exercise, give me a pressing exercise at all, dumbbell.
No, I want to know specific. This is top 3.
Okay, cable chest press.
You got half an hour and you can do 3 exercises, 70 each. What are you doing?
Pull up, cable chest press, and split squats.
I can go with that. Split squats, hell no. Hell no. Are we Bulgarians?
No, 2 feet on the ground.
Okay.
The keywords in front of that first leg.
Okay. That's very specific.
Yeah.
Right, and the next one is top 3 social activities. What, like, you've got any 3 activities you can do. Budgets, there's no budget here. Any 3 activities. What are you doing?
With the boys, that's happening.
It can be wife, my boys, my family. It's just social.
Social. Gives me joy.
Yeah, you can talk about baby here as well, man. It's just top 3 activities. I don't baby,
What you need to sleep will probably make it. Okay. But he wants to freaking sleep. Not to sleep. I'm not putting it qualified yet. Hopefully in a few years watch this back. Bro, social. Jesus, going out for food is obviously one of the nice and easy.
What's that restaurant?
I'll come back.
Rice? Unbelievable.
My wife and my favourite. They never had bad food.
Fair enough.
Shout out to Connect. Absolutely not. It's kind of this. In sport, bro, I love doing like boxing, jiu-jitsu. Back in 20 my hip. I'm gonna go back to that this year. Inshallah. Contact sports. That's definitely with a few friends now. That's
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's a little 2018, so it's been a while.
Okay.
I like 2021.
Okay. I'll probably start after that. And the final one, social family, bro. Family, man. Family.
This is top 3. What are you family?
Mafia. That's a good one.
Right.
Mafia is dangerous. The one was hilarious, man. Yeah, come on, put Mafia.
Yeah.
We did that. That was fantastic. Yeah, we did that.
Fantastic, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. We've all got to know you a lot better. And I appreciate you again, man.
I think you're ready to